Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at several of my favorite stock recommendation services from the Motley Fool and Seeking Alpha. These services have a great track record of recommending winning stocks, and they're really easy to follow along with. They are also fairly affordable, and I like that you can use them on their own or as part of a larger investment strategy. So let's dive in. I want to kick things off with my overall favorite stock recommendation service, the Motley Fool Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor is the Motley Fool's flagship service, and it's been around since 2002. As of March 2025, it's returned 839% compared to 164% for the S&P 500. That's a really impressive track record that most other stock recommendation services just can't match. I like Stock Advisor because it's really easy to follow along with the recommendations. You get 2 new stocks to consider each month with a focus on long-term explosive growth stocks. Motley Fool anticipates that you'll be holding these stocks for at least 5 years, and some recommended stocks have been in the portfolio for more than 20 years. This is nice because with this kind of investment horizon, you don't have to worry too much about entering position at the exact moment a new recommendation is issued. You also don't have to watch the portfolio all that closely since there isn't much action outside of the new recommendations each month. Each new recommendation comes with a research report that's pretty accessible for newer investors. The reports tend to focus more on company leadership and growth opportunities than in-depth financial information, so it's easy to get a sense pretty quickly of whether a company fits in with your investing style or not. Another great thing about Stock Advisor is that in addition to the new recommendations, you also get a monthly ranking list. This ranks the top 10 stocks already in the portfolio to consider doubling down on now. These might be stocks that have a good entry after a pullback, or companies that just reported strong earnings and are pushing higher with momentum. With this list, it's really easy to find timely stocks to consider whenever you have some extra cash to invest in your portfolio. The only drawback to Stock Advisor in my experience is that the service doesn't focus much on risk management. I've seen a number of recommended stocks fall more than 60%, which to me is a lot to lose on a single position. I usually apply my own stop losses when I'm investing with Stock Advisor, and it would be nice to see the service give a little bit more guidance on this. That said, these losing positions are counted in Stock Advisor's overall performance, which again has been far better than the S&P 500 for more than 20 years. Another plus to Stock Advisor is that it only costs $199 per year, which is a really great price for a service like this. And I've actually got a code that I'll share with this video so you can get your first year for just $99. That makes this service worthwhile even if you only have around $10,000 in your portfolio. Next, I want to highlight another Motley Fool service, Epic. This is actually a service that includes Stock Advisor along with 3 other Motley Fool stock recommendation scorecards, rule breakers, hidden gems, and dividend investors. So you get a total of 5 new stock recommendations each month instead of just 2. I'll be honest that rule breakers and hidden gems are a lot like Stock Advisor, and there's actually a lot of overlap between the service's recommendations. I think they're worthwhile if you want more stock recommendations to choose from and more ranking lists to consider, or if you just want access to research reports on a wider range of stocks. But overall, I don't think that these services are essential. What makes Epic shine for me is the inclusion of Dividend Investor. This service has a totally different focus on dividend stocks, and you can use it to add an income dimension to the growth portfolio you build with Stock Advisor, rule breakers, and hidden gems. It's a really great way to diversify your portfolio, and it's integrated right into the same dashboard as Stock Advisor, so you don't have to learn a new system. Plus, just like with Stock Advisor, recommendations from Dividend Investor come with research reports and a ranking list, so you have some extra guidance to consider in between new recommendations. Epic costs $499 per year, so it is a big step up in price from Stock Advisor alone. I definitely recommend that you have at least $50,000 and ideally $100,000 or more in your portfolio in order to make this service worthwhile. Next, I want to talk about Seeking Alpha, and specifically its Alpha Picks service. Alpha Picks has a lot of similarities to Stock Advisor, but also some important differences. So you still get 2 stock picks per month, but they focus more on momentum than long-term growth. Alpha Picks stocks are meant to be held for at least a year, which is a much shorter time frame than Motley Fool's 5 years. Another difference is that Alpha Picks is relatively quick to sell stocks that start underperforming, where Stock Advisor has a tendency, in my experience, to hold on to losing stocks for a lot longer than I'd like. Alpha Picks will sell stocks in as little as a few months if they don't live up to expectations. That can help reduce your risk, although it also means following along with the Alpha Picks portfolio requires a little bit more attention. Alpha Picks also delivers research reports for new recommendations that look pretty similar to Motley Fool reports, but they're a bit more focused on fundamental analysis. There's a lot of reference to Seeking Alpha's valuation, momentum, and growth ratings, which in turn are based on pretty in-depth fundamental metrics. I find the reports to be fairly accessible, but they're definitely more targeted at intermediate investors compared to the beginner-friendly reports you get with Stock Advisor. Alpha Picks has only been around since 2022, and as of March 2025, it's beaten the S&P 500 about 136% to 49%. That's pretty good for the service's first 3 years, and I feel pretty confident in Alpha Picks' ability to continue delivering based on my experience with the rest of the Seeking Alpha ecosystem. One drawback to Alpha Picks, though, is that it is pretty pricey. It costs $499 per year, the same as Epic, and there's no money back guarantee. So it can be a little hard to make the leap to this stock picking service, especially if you're comparing against Stock Advisor as the alternative. The final service I want to talk about is Seeking Alpha Premium. This is the flagship Seeking Alpha service, and it's more of a stock research platform than a stock picking service. You get access to really in-depth fundamental analysis, including valuation metrics, growth ratings, sector comparisons, and more. It's an advanced service, but it packs a lot in. Seeking Alpha Premium comes with a top stocks list that you can actually use like a stock picking service. Stocks in this list are rated based on a proprietary algorithm, analysis from Seeking Alpha contributors, and price targets from Wall Street analysts. So you have some of the best minds in finance working to help you find under-the-radar stocks to buy. Top stocks are based on a mix of growth, valuation, and momentum. So the service is pretty balanced and does a good job of recommending stocks across sectors. It's also easy to sort the list for dividend stocks if you want to focus on income. The trick is that there are around 100 stocks on the list at any given time, so you do need to have a bit of a strategy for how you want to approach it. I found the top stocks list to be incredibly helpful for portfolio building, and I like having access to a lot of different stocks to investigate at any given time. However, you do have to do your own research into the stocks. Unlike with Alpha Picks, you don't get access to research reports. The good news is that you have access to the entire Seeking Alpha platform to facilitate that research. The other thing to keep in mind is that Seeking Alpha Premium doesn't come with buy and sell alerts. You have to watch the platform daily or at least once a week to monitor the stocks in your portfolio and look for ratings changes that might indicate it's time to sell. On the whole, using Seeking Alpha Premium and the top stocks list is a lot fuzzier than using Stock Advisor or Alpha Picks, so it's a lot better for self-directed investors who want ideas as opposed to ready-to-buy picks. In terms of price, Seeking Alpha costs $229 per year, but you can get your first month for $5 to try it out. I think it's extremely worthwhile if you can take advantage of all the research tools and have a portfolio of around $10,000 to $20,000 or more. So to sum up, my favorite stock recommendation services are the Motley Fool Stock Advisor and the Motley Fool Epic, and Seeking Alpha Alpha Picks and Seeking Alpha Premium. All of these services have great recommendations to help you build your portfolio, and I think you'll really like them too.